Joining me now from Washington, D.C., Donna Perino, the former White House press secretary under President George W. Bush and the current chief issues counselor at the public relations and communications firm Burson Marsteller. In Los Angeles, Susie Coelho. She's the CEO of the multimedia lifestyle company Susie Coelho Enterprises. And Donna Childs, a senior columnist for Dow Jones Newswire, also happens to be a small business owner and author of Prepare for the Best, Disaster Preparedness and Recovery for Small Business. Good morning, ladies. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning.
Good to see you guys. Susie, I heard you laugh there because Dana is on the mark here about the entrepreneurs. I mean, it was about $750 million of a $787 billion program directed towards small businesses. They create the job growth. I mean, what's the story here?
Well, isn't it really just 1% of the $787 billion package that's being earmarked? And, you know, I'm wondering, where's the beef? You know, there's a lot of rhetoric out there, but I haven't seen anybody ride up on their white horse and give me a check. Although I have to tell you, Alexis, I did get a tax refund the other day. Yes, I was lucky enough to get a tax refund. And my recovery rebate, guess what? $89. You know, that's not really going to get me that Prada bag.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sure not that many people are thinking about the Prada bag. But, Susie, look, you tell me, it feels as though the administration has been very big on big government, big intervention for the too big to fail model. And they're now trying to recircle the decks here because they're starting to get a growing amount of criticism about what they've failed to do. In fact, they had Karen Mills standing on a podium with an SBA winner the other day with the president. I mean, they're trying to spin this thing here. What is it that you're seeing in your business and hearing about from other small business owners?
Well, I think that small business owners are really looking for, you know, how is it going to affect them? I mean, the Obama administration has not done a great job with educating small businesses as to how they can take advantage of any of these packages or any of these things that are coming down the line. But really, when it really boils down to everything, we cannot expect, as a small business, we cannot expect the government to bail us out. That's unfortunately the real bottom line. Even if you get a $35,000 check in the mail or a loan, you're still going to have to pay that back. So all you're getting into is more debt. I think that small businesses have to take charge as entrepreneurs. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I've had restaurants, I've had stores, now a lifestyle company. This is the time for entrepreneurs to really take charge, go back to their basic roots of coming up with that bright idea and a great marketing plan. Look what McDonald's did. They went head to head with Starbucks. I mean, I drive into McDonald's with my kids, and there are these incredible posters of all this fabulous coffee, you know, the McFlurry coffee or the this coffee, and for half the price. So come up, entrepreneurs can come up with a bright idea, just as they did when they started that business, and really go back to their basic roots. And promo and marketing is the key. That is the only way out of this mess.
You know, Donna, you and I were talking before, only about 5% of the loans for small businesses are financed through the SBA. There's, what, 20 million small businesses? You actually went through the process of getting an SBA loan. Talk to me about the good and the bad, what they've done right, what they've done wrong.
Well, there are two things I think are particularly important right now. I went through the process and decided not to complete the application after 9/11, and I'm glad I didn't. Because to Susie's point about why you should focus on building your business, I calculated the number of hours I had to put in compliance with federal government programs. It worked out that the recovery was $2.10 an hour of my time. That's pre-tax, pre-expense. Not worth it. So it's a huge burden to navigate through this thicket of federal government programs. You're better off, as Susie suggested, investing your time elsewhere, marketing, sales, or whatever. The second issue is in terms of that $35,000 emergency loan. Secretary Geithner was a little bit misinformed yesterday when he talked about that, because in his remarks he said, we don't want to reward the reckless, we want to encourage the prudent. It's the small businesses that didn't take on too much debt that we want to help now. Actually, that emergency loan is applicable to pay down certain types of debt. So if you didn't take on debt or you took on lower cost SBA debt, that loan won't help you. On the other hand, if you took on credit card loans and private real estate loans, that loan might help you. So the policy is at odds with what Secretary Geithner said. Most of us wouldn't benefit from that loan program, even if we wanted to get, you know, the time and effort to apply.
You know, it's interesting, Dana. I've talked to a couple of experts on this, the likes of Carl Schramm at the Kaufman Foundation, Tom Donahue from the Chamber of Commerce. One of the big issues people say is that the small business community doesn't get their fair share because there's not really one consensus of a handful of people who walk into the president or to the members of Congress and say, hey, what about us? That they're not really well connected in their base to build the support. Is that part of the issue here?
I think absolutely. I mean, if you take some of the big financial institutions, they have lobbyists all over Washington, D.C. and in other state capitals. They can go in and have the relationships that they need to get the money that they want. If you look at the auto companies, especially GM and Chrysler, they were able to have those relationships and they're set. Look, I think about my aunt and uncle who own a bowling alley in Rawlins, Wyoming. They don't have a voice on Capitol Hill. And one of the things that's a problem is that collectively small businesses don't have the firepower that these other large businesses have because they're too busy trying to run their business. As Donna and Susie have said, they are focused on marketing and sales and figuring out how to make ends meet and to pay the salaries of the employees that they have. And they just don't have enough time. So that's why it's important, like the Chamber of Commerce needs to step up and speak for them.
Yeah, Susie, I mean, Dana's
She's
speaking
so right.
it the way it is. I'm married to a small business. Believe me, that is so true. So what do you guys do to help your own situation? I mean, how do you fight the tide?
Very good question. I mean, we're working overtime. Every small business owner that I know, we're working morning, noon, and night. And again, as an entrepreneur, we're used to that. We're used to waking up early. We're used to working till 12 o'clock at night. I have to juggle my kids at the same time. But, we lost a huge deal with this whole economy crash. One of our retailers, huge retailers, big business, went out of business, and that was a majority of our income. So, we have to look just like every other small business, whether it's the mom and pop store down the street or my company. We have to look to what can we do to reinvent ourselves? What can we do to take the market share? Because there's so many people. The market's glutted in every business. So how can you take that market share? And again, I go back to promo and marketing. You hear that all the time, but small businesses really need to take charge now. It is essential. It's the only way out, because if there's any market share out there, you have to get it. So social networking, getting on the net, that's a great new way. It's a very inexpensive way to market yourself, whether you're Twittering, whether you're blogging, really to try to reach that consumer in a way that you haven't before. And go back to your basic roots of reinventing yourself. I think that's the only way out. We cannot depend on the government to bail us out.
And you can use banding. You can use banding together on the internet as in terms of technology, and really add to a collective voice. And I think that I think the women entrepreneurs would probably be best at doing that and working together. And maybe that's a place to start.
Yeah, great point. I know we talked to Nell Merlino at Count Me In about that as well. All right, well, this was a fantastic conversation. I'd love to have you guys back. And Donna, next week, I know they're going to announce some new announcements directed towards small businesses. So come back and tell me about some of those announcements. Thank you guys so much. Have a terrific day.